You are watching CIOTV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Infomedia.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. My name is Ayush. I'm partner with the digital business at KPMG. And with me today are esteemed panelists who will talk to you about what has been their experience as CIOs, as CDOs, and as technology leaders in their engagement with various company boards. Let me start with a brief round of introductions. Mr. Rajeev, maybe we'll start.
Thank you, Ayush. Good evening, everybody. I am Rajeev Soota, working as a Vice President in IT with Usha National Limited. I am basically taking care of the entire business applications for Usha National, and my key role is to go for the digitization for the company and process automation, governance, and other infrastructure-related things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajeev. Mr. Parna.
Good evening, all of you. Thanks to Accent Infomedia for inviting us for this session. I work for Minda Group, which is one of the India's largest automotive ancillary company, and I have total 33 years of experience and in this organization for last 7 years.
Thank you, Mr. Parna. Mr. Soumomoy.
Hi. I represent one of the India's oldest companies. Many people are aware of it because it's a very common brand name. It's Amrutanjan Healthcare Limited, and I'm the IT head. I have around 25 years of IT experience, and I have worked with global companies like TCS and Wipro.
Thank you, Mr. Soumomoy. Let me start this discussion by asking all of you, given your rich experience with various organizations, global organizations as well, what do you think is the current level of engagement that CIOs, CDOs have had with company boards and vice versa? And if you can share some thoughts on how has this evolved over a period of time, not just in India, but also in contrast to other geographies. Maybe Mr. Rajeev, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Ish. Thank you for the question. I have a slightly different opinion about that because in India still the CIO role is not that bigger in the context of Indian organizations where the board is comprising of the family business sort of things. But still the role of the CIO is very evolving nowadays, and CIOs are taking an active part in the board meetings, and they are the driving factor for the organizations and to achieve their goals. But if I say about this in my company or in the company where I have worked with or I know some companies, the CIO are still now evolving their roles, and board is also adopting and making them participate in the business meetings so that they can understand what is the goal of the company or the vision of the management, so that they can, using the technology, they can work towards that. Yeah.
Sure. Mr. Parna, anything you'd want to add on this?
I think there is a huge paradigm shift which has happened in last, at least I will say 5 to 10 years, since the inception of digital transformation across all verticals, especially if you look at IT, healthcare, insurance, BFSI, FMCG, retail. These are the industries where, the engagement with board or even the top management as a stakeholder with the IT department or the CIO. And even, the nomenclature is changing fast as CDOs. So I think this engagement is extremely high. But if you look at manufacturing as an industry, I think this is still, cropping up, or I will say it's improving. As an example, I can tell you is like manufacturing today is around 16 to 17% contributing to GDP of India. And by 29-30, I think it is expected to have around 28 to 30% of GDP because of the leap by the government and the other, industries. Everywhere there is a leap for manufacturing in India. So I think the engagement is now growing and improving, being one of the largest sector and the largest employer also. And I think the importance of IT function, especially for digital initiatives, are being conceived or being perceived by the board in a very, very different way. Even if I tell our company, In the board meetings, we are discussing digital, we are discussing enterprise risk management, backed up with IT business continuity and overall business continuity. We are discussing environment, social governance, which is ESG. So the country's overall governance, compliance, and also risk management posture is changing. DPDPA is coming up. Many organizations you will see the CIOs or the CDOs are taking up the DPDPA, DPO role rather, in the organization. So it is shifting. So IT leaders are becoming more legal knowledge, legal knowledgeable, also risk knowledgeable, also, in terms of the business, they are anyway having a lot of knowledge. So I think the paradigm shift is already started happening, and in next few years, you will see a lot of traction happening with the IT departments, and CIOs are going to be extremely important in most of the organizations where digital transformation is leapfrogging.
Thank you. I think some very interesting points, and we will definitely pick some of these up as the discussion proceeds. But let me go from there to Mr. Soumomoy and ask you, if I look at, and Mr. Parna said that, it's a paradigm shift and the roles are also changing. So if I was to look at the roles of CIOs and CDOs and ask you, what are some of the skills or the competencies that you believe are important for boards to effectively engage with CIOs? Particularly, as Mr. Parna said, in different sectors, the engagement has been at different levels. So if you can share some thoughts on how it is in your sector and in your experience, other sectors as well.
Yeah. Firstly, I want to give a disclaimer that, whatever I say here is my opinion, and it should not be quoted that, it is the organization's, way of working. But having said that, my experience is CIOs in today's world are playing more of a strategic role, because IT is no longer, a data processing, department anymore. They are the enablers. They are the, transformers to the way that you do business. And if you look at digital transformation journey, primarily there are, 4 areas that every organization would be working at. They are very focused about customers. Their internal and external customers. They're very concerned about the way the operations are managed. Is it giving the yield and the best profits? The third, which is the most important and which relates to the board more, is a business model, right? What are the new business models that can transform the business? And last but not the least is the digital capabilities, right? So IT CIO's role is bridging all this four and bringing them under the same umbrella. So many a times it has been the advisory that, CIOs will quote, organizations who have benefited in either of these areas and excelled. And what have they excelled with? They might have excelled with something like digital twin. They might have excelled with something like, omni-commerce, right? Or something unique which is very, very intrinsic and impacts the organization's performance. So that is where somebody said earlier in the meeting that the CIO is the next CEO, because it is deciding, the game changer is decided by how you are using digital to your success.
Yes, please, Mr. Rajeev.
Just to add what Sir has pointed out, the role of the CIO, not only he should be aware about the technology, which is his prime role basically, but nowadays the more focus is on he should be the finance savvy also. He should understand the budgeting, ROIs, CapEx, OpEx, which expense will go to OpEx model, which expense will go to CapEx model, all these things. And apart from that, he has to have a good understanding or a good business knowledge also. Apart from technology, what business wants or what is the demand of the other departments, he should be very, very effectively participate in those meetings with the management of the company, and also understand what they are looking at and what are their pain areas, so that he can use the technology and address those areas.
Absolutely, very well said. The CIO needs to be much more than just a technology leader. The CIO, if he is to be the next CEO, has to understand business and evolving business models very well. Maybe that takes me to my next question around growth. So, as somebody said in this discussion, that boards are very interested in growing the organization, and CIOs have a lot of experience in running large digital and agile transformations. Mr. Parna, if I was to ask you, how have you seen CIOs and CDOs assist boards in driving transformations which are non-technology and non-digital centric, basis their experience and expertise in running digital or agile transformations? Any thoughts you'd want to share?
Good question. So, first of all, you have to understand that the operational role of CIOs have already gone long back. Maybe 20 years back, people used to say the server room is not working or the data center is, not functioning. 15 years back, people used to say, I am not receiving the mails. It's getting stuck up somewhere as a spam or something like that. Have you heard in last 5-10 years any CIO is talking to anyone like there is an operational challenge in terms of availability or confidentiality or risk management or something? These have become hygiene. So we have come across all this, and then it has been a past now, because that's hygiene. Now, as far as your growth factor is concerned, without IT in today's time, I don't think any organization can succeed into the next level of growth. Next level of growth is mostly digital, and it may be organic, inorganic, or wherever you go, cross-boundary or within the country or whatever it is, everywhere you need to have IT as an imbibed strategy partner with the organization. So, if you look at our organization, I can tell you when we make the long-term vision or the 6 years vision till 29-30, now IT was one of the major enablers in terms of digital transformation, and we have also segregated the digital transformation into 3 layers. One is the basic layer of digitization. Second is the digitalization, which is mostly automation and enabling the processes. And third is digital transformation, which is nothing but new business models, or even digital commerce, e-commerce. He was also talking about the same thing, omni-channel experience, how to engage with customers in a different way, how to make sure you have a customer history, especially in case of MNCs. A lot of changes happened in terms of the expats. How do you come to know which year I met which customer and what discussion we had? So kind of matured CRMs are also coming up, and also AI and data analytics is also helping with the technology support to the CIOs or the CDOs to give the right outside-in perspective to the board. Many times the board is stuck up with some idea generation or something like that. So there the CIOs are able to contribute, like what others are doing in the business, what the outside-in views are coming up from the industry or the competition or something like that. I think this is extremely important, and IT departments work with a huge ecosystem. One side you have the knowledge partners like KPMG and other big 4. Then you have the strategy consultant partners, you have the technology enablers, you have the system integrators, you have product and solution specialists, you have OEMs who are developing the product. So you have a huge ecosystem from where contribution can happen, and there is a huge digital content available in the market, starting from the Harvard Business Review to McKinsey's and stuff like that. So I think the enablement for an IT guy is extremely high, and he was like mentioning, one side he has a business knowledge, he has an external knowledge, he has an organization knowledge, he has knowledge of the people, he has knowledge of the technology, he knows about the board and to the last mile who are the workers in the organization. So I think the visibility and the authenticity and credibility of the IT department's information is extremely high. Hence, the decision making becomes extremely important, and boards are actually engaging the CIOs, CDOs in terms of decision making and drawing the future of the organization, because companies who are aspiring to become 2x, 3x in next decade or something like that, along with the digital India and the Indian vision of 5 trillion and $10 trillion in next 5 to 10 years and stuff like that, I think you have to depend on each of the functions, and IT becomes a very, very important function in your ecosystem.
Sure.
Just to add what Sir has said, that nowadays board is also very keen on involving the IT in their day-to-day operations, and whenever they need that earlier there was a presumption that IT is very costly. जो भी बात करो budget की बात करेंगे, खर्चे की बात करेंगे. But nowadays the things have changed. Now the board also knows that कि whatever vision they have, or whatever goals they have, whatever the target they have for their companies, IT plays a very vital role in achieving those things, and also CIO also plays a very important role to meet those goals for the organization.
Very good point. So I think what I'm hearing as a consensus is that boards recognize the CIO's role from a growth standpoint, not just for the organization, but also from hardcore metrics point of view. Let me then go from there to the second part of what boards are looking for, which is managing risk. Now, as CIOs, you are all very accustomed to managing risks, particularly digital risks from a cybersecurity, privacy, and other perspectives. But how have you seen CIOs advising board of directors specifically on non-digital risks and bringing their expertise to the table in helping boards manage and govern the risk profile of the organization? Mr. Soumomoy, given you work in healthcare and this is an area which is very prevalent over there, maybe some thoughts?
Yeah. So business impact analysis, that's the very important agenda which board is always, very interested to talk about. And business impact analysis, if I can recollect some of these discussions that were happening earlier, somebody said, risk management by design, right? So what are the ways that we can protect our business operations? And when we say that, many of the things may be non-IT oriented. As simple as, if my competitor gets my data, what is the damage that can happen, right? Or if my particular, way of business can be converted into a really digital business, right? So those are the business model I spoke about. And many of those discussions are initiated or even, advised by the CIOs as of today, which earlier wasn't the case, but now I think with more knowledgeable CIOs who are taking a larger portfolio to talk about, right? Not as a IT operations, as Parna rightly mentioned, we have to, get into those conversations. They are tough conversations because sometimes, we are presumed that we are not coming from that kind of background where we can actually talk about the business impact. But yes, many of these CIOs are doing that day in, day out, and that's where the value of the CIO is in the board meetings.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Soumomoy. Mr. Rajeev, any thoughts from a risk standpoint that you have seen at Usha International or in other organizations?
Okay. Yeah. See, risk management or the protection of the data, like what sir has mentioned, that is very, very important nowadays. And especially when the coming of this new law, maybe last year it was introduced, DPDP law, where the penalty is very heavy. I think 250 crore rupees or 2% of the worldwide turnover, whichever is higher. Now the board is very worried about that, and they always want to ensure that my data is protected. If I have a consumer data, that also should be protected and the compliance should be followed. So if I say about the risk, yes, the risk is there, and that is the main worry nowadays for any CIOs or any IT leaders, maybe what all are present in this group. So securing those risks or the cyber attacks or the data protection or the data leakage, so that is the main cause of worry nowadays for the CIOs. And lot many tools are available which we can leverage and ensure that our data is secured.
Very good point, I think. Important to make sure that data is secure in any risk situation. One of the major reasons why organizations are very excited about investing in India and setting up businesses in India is to be able to tap into the wide talent pool, both broad and deep, that is available in India. And when we look at the talent pool, the number one demand for talent and for skills is around digital, right? Given that nobody understands the digital talent landscape better than a CIO or a CDO, would you want to share any thoughts on how boards have engaged the expertise sitting with CDOs on tapping into this talent ecosystem with a particular focus on the Indian geography, or even if it is broader globally? Maybe Mr. Rajeev, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, see, talent is very critical, and CIO has to protect the talent within his team. Nowadays, we are seeing lot many alterations are happening within the company or within the industry verticals, and it is a very important role for the CIO to keep the team aligned, and also the objective of the team should be such that it should meet with the company's objective overall. So that is the one thing I think where talent is required, and in India context, if I say, or in the various verticals, what we like, we are into the manufacturing and the trading company, and also we want to keep that whatever talent we have, and that should be protected, and there should not be anything where the talent goes out of the system, because if a company is investing in employees, so they should be able to retain those talent also.
Thank you. Mr. Soumomoy, any thoughts?
Yeah, so, when I used to work for IT companies, we always went behind headcounts, okay? So this headcount was very popular, word that was used. In today's world, headcount makes no sense. Primarily for the reason that, there are so much, reusable codes, no code, low codes that are available. Then there are, certain inbuilt algorithms that you can use, right? And when you are hiring a talent, you would not look at the technical skills of the talent, but the maturity of how he, demonstrates in the digital landscape, right? What is his total orchestration skills in terms of, the various digital tools that we are using, whether it is, the deep mining tools that, data mining tools that we are using, or, the machine learning techniques that are being used, or maybe at the next level where, large language processing are being done. And many of these, talents, I would say are, being nurtured in the IITs of the, Indian Institute and academics, right? They are the brightest talents. I think, because when I spoke to some of these people, they are the ones who are going to change the future of India. And, if we can really tap into those talents who are innovative in their own thought process, who have a unique way of doing things in the digital space, that is going to be a differentiator.
Very interesting. Some very good points. Let me from there go to my next question. And Mr. Parna, you had touched upon this in your earlier remarks when you said that gone are the days when the CIO focuses a lot of time on operational responsibilities, right? Do you think there is a gap in perception sometimes where the boards still feel that CIOs are focused on operational responsibilities and sometimes struggle with the strategic thought process needed to really assist the board, whereas, as you rightly said, CIOs are actually doing strategic work? So do you think, especially in some sectors, this gap is wider as compared to others, and in some geographies, this gap has maybe been traversed more than others? Any thoughts?
So I will connect the earlier question with the, this question itself. You talked about risk. Now, one of the risk is knowledge retention risk and knowledge upgradation risk. Now, apart from your financial risk or operational risk or IT risk or supply chain risk, you have a people risk. And that's, I think everyone mentioned that how important it is to, retain people and retain knowledge within the organization. Now, when we talk about the CIOs, if you, first of all is, what is your KPI? Everybody should look at their KPIs, or during the KRS goal setting, the personal goal setting, they must look at their KPIs. If those KPIs are hugely operational, say for an example, uptime or cyber security related, KPIs, or even, application downtime, or, disaster recovery and something like that. So I think then you are actually going into your own graveyard. So you need to first talk to the top management that your KPIs have to be linked with the business goals or the strategic goals. Say for an example, if there is a revenue target taken by 10% of the organization, that by next year there will be a revenue target of 10%. You should at least try to own 1% of that 10%. It looks very tough, it looks very difficult, but I think it is possible in today's time. If there is a target taken by the top management to reduce the working capital of the organization by 15%, you should own 2% or 3% of that 15%. So this way, and even for, if the target is taken by the organization to have a retention of, more than 90%, that means 10% of attrition as a target, you should also look at how you can engage with people digitally or even through different ways and means, so that you can contribute at least 2 to 3% of the 10%. So my point here is how to de-risk yourself is the first point of contention you need to think about. Second is how to make sure you talk relevant things in the board meetings or even in the meetings where the board members are present. Now, if you talk too much of operational things, that this system was live and we were not able to do this and that and stuff like that, people take you as an operational leader only. You need to talk about what others are doing in the market, how others are getting successful, where the opportunity lies, how can we convert a problem into an opportunity, or how can we identify a use case where we can find out a lot of avenues and how to improve the business. I think these are the discussions and the topics you need to take care. Third point and the last point is you need to also upgrade yourself. As a tech leader, many CIOs are not upgrading themselves for last 15, 20 years. They did some BTechs or MBA something like 10 years, 20 years back, and then never they have upgraded themselves. Now is the time, there was one session from IIT Kanpur, and the faculty said at the age of 55 or 60, even you need to learn what is data science. If you have to engage with data scientists and you don't know anything about data science, what will you talk and how do you inspire them and motivate them? So it's right time to learn and also make yourself relevant, whether it is data science, whether it is artificial intelligence, whether it is augmented reality or any other subjects. You need to be abreast and also updated on the latest technologies which are prevailing in the market, and also talk sense, so you bridge the gap between business and technology and talk the right sensible things in front of the management. This will bring the right perspective to the management that this is the guy who will take me to the future. And if somebody was saying there is a discussion that CIOs can become next CEOs, I don't think that this discussion should happen. This used to happen 10 years back. Now there is no doubt about that CIOs can become CEOs. The only thing is you have to stop discussing technology, you have to start discussing business, goals, achievements, and also engage more with the business leaders. Now here you will see all the IT leaders are sitting here. It is good, but I will request Accent Info Media to have CIO, CMO, CFO, a joint conglomerate. Why don't we have something like that? Then we can collaborate with each other, what others are doing and others are thinking. Because only talking about IT and what project you are doing and how you are doing and something like this doesn't really yield any big result for anyone.
So business goals, talk strategic, and stay abreast of recent developments. Some very good points over there, Mr. Parna. We'd love to continue this discussion, but I think we're coming to the close of our time. So maybe I'll request Mr. Soumomoy, any concluding thoughts from you?
Yeah, I think the closing thought process is that, CIOs of today is a very, very important role. And all of us, as people present here, understands that because they are being awarded for their achievements. But the journey forward is going to get more tougher, where it is not linear in terms of that head count. Okay, and these high salary fetching jobs are going to go down, and technology is going to take over. So we have to prepare that. What is the value that we bring to the business? As Parna was also mentioning, that jointly, how can we, transform the business models, the way we do profit, right? And the way we give the customer a wow experience. So those are the things that will matter.
Thank you. Mr. Parna?
So I think there is a tagline called transform or get transformed. So I think that's most important. You need to transform the business, otherwise you will get transformed. Your job might get transformed. Then you need to also upgrade yourself and your team who is working with you at a good amount of level so that you can be relevant for the organization for the future. And the third thing is engagement, more engagement with business stakeholders, outside-in views from the market, what is happening across the globe and across the world, and bring in those thought process to the organization. Knowledge is very powerful, so utilize the knowledge and stay relevant. And like during COVID, we used to say, stay healthy and stay safe. So we need to really stay healthy and stay safe as far as knowledge and competencies and skills are concerned.
Yeah, okay. So everybody must have used PPT. So PPT now, normally it's for the presentations, but if I say as a CIO, PPT is people, process and technology. So he has to manage the people, he has to adopt the process, and he has to bring the technology so that people can adopt the process and use those processes in a better way. And also CIO nowadays, why they are very important? Because management or the board is now thinking that IT is the one area which can help them to increase their top line or reduce their cost or meeting the compliance, which is the main concern area for any board member. How to increase my top line or how to reduce my cost. So IT nowadays plays a very important role, and CIO, if he is not only focusing on the technology but on the other areas also, like I mentioned about the finance or the budgeting or the RI side sort of things, so that will help them to drive the business effectively.
Very good points, Mr. Rajeev. Absolutely. PPT has changed from presentation to people, process, technology. I think on that note, thank you so much, gentlemen, for giving us this valuable time and sharing your insights with us. And thank you so much.